Hello, everybody. We're live. This is Ariel Serber and Margareth or Margaret? How do you actually pronounce
It's Margareth Gonzalez.
Margareth Gonzalez? Um, I run this Secure the Bag, uh, I guess live show, live podcast, whatever you want to call it, on LinkedIn. It's also on YouTube now. So welcome, welcome. I just want to touch on one thing. Uh, by way of introduction, I've been talking about financial literacy and empowerment for a very long time, and those are sort of my guiding lights and my mission. And so I always try to have people on that are doing things in that sort of forum, in that arena. And Margaret came up just recently, actually, in my sort of view here in the New York community. And I wanted her to introduce herself and say hello and tell us a little about who she is, and what she's working on.
Pleasure to be here, Ariel. Thank you so much for
Yes.
taking this time of your busy schedule and for allowing me to be part of your mission. I'm really honored. I'm always very happy to support like-minded individuals who've actually bet and advocate for financial literacy, which is essentially my mission too.
Mhm.
My name is Margareth Gonzalez. I'm the founder and CEO from Capital Variation, originally born and raised in Bogota, Colombia, in the 90s. So it was a very, very difficult time for entrepreneurial family business to succeed and co-create financial opportunities. So part of who I am today is predominantly based upon, who I was as a child and what we had to leave in Colombia, which was never easy. But it became, it shaped me on the person that I am today. And part of the mission of why I created Capital Variation was to inspire women in emerging markets. To not only dream and to obviously become who they want to be, but at the same time to create a safe ecosystem of women that are in the financial markets, that have a voice, that have um, a reason to do what they do, and to empower other women and other men also to be in this financial sector, which is interesting, sometimes could be a little bit
Mhm.
challenging, I will have to say. And having create company and my company in London in 2019, and subsequently after the pandemic and the Brexit also expanded the business in Dubai, for 3 years, worked, lived in the region. I still have a home there and also my entity. I decided to branch out in America, going back to my country. And ever since the new administration of Trump, I think, of course, there is chaos, and I don't want to be too political here, but um,
Right.
for some reason, we're doing very well, and we're connecting, we're attracting, we're helping founders, entrepreneurs, family offices, with value creation, empowerment, to expand, to bring and open new markets, and that's my
Yeah,
mission, to identify those opportunities.
that's amazing. So I want to just touch on the resilience factor, because I feel like especially all entrepreneurs sort of have it innately, or they have to have it innately. And especially when it's the immigrant story, it's a very classic kind of story, but each one is also unique at the same time. So can you just talk about that, what you saw maybe from your experiences growing up, starting out in the world of finance and business? How did you apply that resilience there, and how did that lead to you even thinking of starting your own business?
Yeah, there are various factors. I've always been a very much of a leader and creator, and for me to always follow directions or having a boss was always very difficult. Just because I had like my ways of thinking, and I always thought, we can do this way, etc. So I guess as an entrepreneur, you always kind of like know that you're going to be an entrepreneur. And growing up in Colombia also, when you mentioned resilience, I grew up in a very difficult atmosphere in the 90s in Colombia. It was tough to be able to to have a company and survive without paying multiple people at a time and not being like either, kidnapped or robbed or etc. So I always saw
Yeah.
that growing up. My family, they struggle a lot on that. So I kind of like live with it, and kind of we had to, you know, survive with that. So I think that's part of my resilience when I started my business in London. um, I did work in the family office world and conference world for some time. And that was the place, the time, and the atmosphere where I learned everything about finance. I learned how family office operate. It's legacy businesses, so it's entire legacies, but also protecting individuals with patriarchs, matriarchs, privacies, co-creating other relationships. So at some point it's a lot of psychology, but there is another part of the business which is very much like logic, right? How do you make
Yeah.
money? How do you maintain relationships, and how do you create harmony between founders, between companies and investors? Like, and part of that
So
also
how
has.
so how so how do you how should families or investors or startups think about that and use that in their approach to one another and internally?
Yeah, I have to take maybe the narrative here of like my sister. She's also our company CEO, and
Cool.
she always tells me, creating a relationship is like creating a family. It's basically maintaining relationships and making sure that everyone is in the same page, and they're working towards a direction and a mission and a vision. It's about keeping your standards, your morals, and being very, very transparent. I think the companies that I've seen, startup companies that are successful, are the ones that are transparent. They are in alignment with their vision, and they're committed to, no matter what, succeed and work hand in hand with the founders and family offices together as a unity, as a family, right? So once you see that relationship as your family and your, I would say, like, you sort of baby, it's your company, right?
Hmm.
You're able to be open and then help the family offices understand that obviously not everything is always linear, right? Being an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, it's requires a lot of energy, it requires a lot of flexibility, and adaptability, and being able
Sure.
to communicate that towards the family offices, and ask questions, and sometimes be humble enough to say, I don't have all the answers, can you please help me here? And be honest about it. I think it's the right way to actually create a healthy relationship between your investors.
That's great. Um, so so can you walk us through starting capital variations and what it actually um, when you say value creation and empowerment, what does that mean in terms of, and I don't just mean like what does it mean in dollars and cents, but how do you as a business monetize that, and how do you actually create this value for others?
Yes. Found it, just to go back to your question originally, how do I found capital variation? I always had a dream about steering private and public capital into companies that could change the world and the course of humanity. And as I started in the business of finance, I saw so many discrepancies and so many shady situations, and I was thinking, how is this possible? So I said the only way to start changing that is if I create my own platform and I create my own opportunities. And by doing that was very organically, right? So I
Sure.
decided to put together a business plan. To be honest, I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I just put together, you know, in a notebook in my room back then in London, and I said, okay, I wanna attract public and private capital towards these different industries: healthcare, education, impact investing, and then I will find the right people and I put them together.
Mm.
How is that going to work? No idea. How I'm going to attract the investors and companies? No idea. But I put that in a book,
Sure.
and I said The first thing to
Sure.
do is register the company. So you go online, you register your company. It's very easy in London. You just basically go online, you pay £16, and then you register your company.
Right.
And
You're
that was the
official.
first step. And then the second step was to create the contracts, right? So how do you create the contracts where you know that you're going to get paid? Because of course it's great to have an amazing idea and impact, but you need to eat and pay your rent, right? So I used a company called Sea Lawyers online, and I put together a question, and it said how do introducers get paid, and that contract came out. I download the contract. I gave it to a friend, a lawyer friend, and I said, "Does this work for me to get paid? And can I just put like the company and how much they should pay me?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're good to go. Print that, and then go to a conference and find some clients." And I remember back in the time I had £5,000 because I just basically quit my job. I really hated my job back then. It's not, I love my boss and everything that I was doing, but I was stuck in this box for like more than a year, and I didn't see any growth. So I was really, really frustrated. So I said, okay, what could worse? What could be worse? What I'm doing right now, or like create and put together something new? So I printed that contract. I booked a ticket to Monaco. I went to a family office conference. I extracted 10 different companies that were raising capital. And I printed around 20 investors, I think, that were actually presenting that day. And I call everybody and email everybody. And I told them that I'm coming to the event and I would want to see and understand what they're doing, what they're building. And then I went to the family offices and I explained them what I wanted to do. A lot of people were thinking, what is she doing here? And some of others were like, I love what you're doing. Like, how much does it cost? And some of them were like, well, if you put me in front of investors, I'm going to give you 20% of whatever we raise. And I was like, well, this is a done deal. But I didn't know it was going to be so hard.
Yeah. Well, and then also obviously then there's regulations and everything else, but we don't even have to talk about that
Yes,
or
exactly.
or touch on that. But that's an amazing story in and of itself, and it really shows just the core of being an entrepreneur is that sort of just figuring it out and then
Going for it.
making a plan and doing it. So how did you grow it to what it is now? And obviously New York is, I mean, I consider it obviously the capital of the world. I'm just very much a New Yorker. So, and what's going on next week in New York?
Yeah, that's the hard part, the creation of the company. Then the second was to be able to visualize and keep, really loyal to the vision. So I basically did that hundreds and hundreds of times. I was literally in a plane. Every deal that I closed was towards the business. For more than 2 years, I think the company was a one-man show. But I knew that if I built a strong foundation of financiers and companies, at some point, something was going to come out of it. So that's what I did for more than 6 years. I've traveled the world through America, through Europe, Latin America, Asia, Dubai, etc. And then I built a platform, a proprietary platform, which is now ours. And inside of it, we have more than 20,000 investors from high net worth individuals, family offices, venture capitalists, pensions, sovereign wealth funds, insurance companies, banks. And I was just very focused on the actual platform, the core, the foundation. When you build a strong foundation, anything that you can build on top of that, it's never going to fall apart. If you build a strong, it's like when you build a family, right? If you have a good foundation family, it's the same thing.
So let me ask you then, just sorry, I know we want to talk about New York, but I do want to touch on then. So how do you, because that sounds like, it sounds like you've built something that's at scale, but you did it as one person. So I feel like that's a very big challenge to maintain. Obviously, it's a challenge to grow, but how do you maintain relationships with that many individuals, investors, VC firms, family offices?
Yes, great question. You can't. I can't
Ah,
have a relationship with 1,000 people. Impossible. But there is the
yeah.
power of technology and the power of a great team.
Mm,
Mohammed, our fantastic marketing director, James, our amazing analyst, and also technology director, Luisa and Jimena. My team is very diligent. They understand my brain. So thank you so much for being with me. It's not easy.
mhm, mhm.
But the actual secret is to be able to build your own proprietary framework and system that will allow you to keep all of that information owned by you. It's our IP because we actually ask for permission. And then there is lots of new things that we're experimenting right now with some of our clients. But Goetzel is our amazing AI client who is helping us putting together some really interesting ways of engaging um, with the companies and with the investors.
Yeah,
But the most upfront and the easiest way is just to create experiences and events, right? So the way that we keep people connected and engaged in London, we do events in London every now and then. We collaborate
mm,
a lot with other competitors. I don't call them competitors, I call them,
yeah,
you know, just another part of a family. When they do events, when they do gatherings, we collaborate as much as possible because the actual value, when you mentioned earlier in your question, how do you bring value to other companies and investors? Well, you give them and you help them, with what they need. And if you can do it and it doesn't cost you anything, why not, right? So I do know that some companies were raising capital and they want to, attend a healthcare conference, and we have some free tickets. There you go. You can join in our name. We put together strategies where we participate, but we also send some of our investors and clients where we don't need to really go. um,
right.
and that way we keep the events live. We keep people and companies engaged. We
Sure.
create value with our investors, towards our investors, so they can have access to deal flow. And every time that we are participating on something, we really want to be part of that, because we're representing the founders, but at the same time we're bringing family offices that want to have access to that deal flow. And those are companies that we actually make due diligence on, and we make sure that everything is in place. So when investors come to our events, which we're going to talk about that later,
Yeah,
they come to an event with quality deal flow that is being due diligence prior to accepting anybody
yeah.
in the work.
Because they know that there's a viability there, a credibility. The trust and credibility is there, been built because you've built this system. Therefore, it's right. And then you have to be super careful, um, because I'm sure someone somewhere along the way has tried to, you know, pull the wool over your eyes. Let's just say it that
Exactly.
way.
And it happens a lot. I had a client the other
Yeah.
day, and he called me at midnight. He's like, Margaret, somebody asked me for our contract. Should I send it? What should I do that? And I said, well, look, in this world, there is good people and bad people, and there's people with good intentions and bad ones. And the only thing
Mm,
that I can control is how I behave and how actually I lead my team and my ecosystem. And it's inevitable. Sometimes there is bad people out there, but there is nothing I can do. What I can do is to make sure that whatever I touch or whatever I participate on, or whoever I bring to my ecosystem and my events, I can control, by understanding, their backgrounds, their track record, checking financials, projections. But again, it's up to the investors
yeah,
to decide whether they
sure.
want to.
But right. And it's almost like, I guess, a little bit of a buyer beware situation, because
Correct.
you're never 100% sure, but at least you've done some of
Right. So
the
you're
first
risking. Yeah,
legwork.
exactly.
Yeah. So then that leads perfectly to next week. So we're recording this. It's December 3rd. Your event is on December 11th. So that's Thursday by my calculations.
Correct.
Um, can you walk us through sort of how that came to be, and what to look forward to at this event?
Absolutely. So, everyone watching this live session, and thank you, Ariel. Of course, you're my VIP guest. I look forward
Oh,
to seeing you there. But we created a discount code as well for some of the audience today. So after this, we're going to share a link where you have access to the event with 20% discount. It's going to be in Wall Street, where I reside, my company and my offices. But it's a little bit of a surprise because we are presenting something that I've never done before. So we're launching our own application. We are also launching our first and very first show, so sort of a Shark Tank show. We had so
Cool.
much people asking us to present companies and events, and we decided that the best and the most impactful way to put companies forward is by showcasing their projects live to the world for free. So for the first time, we're going to conduct this show. 5 startups will come and compete with one each other, and investors will have the opportunity to take decisions and invest on those companies. And we're also going to have between 20 to 30 investors present that day, so they can also come and watch, have access to deal flow. But that's the best way to impact, right? If we give access to all of a network, wherever they are in the world, if they're in Saudi, in Qatar, in Colombia, in India, they'll have the chance to see them. They'll have the chance to vote, and they'll have the chance to contact them and invest through the app.
Okay, so it's going to be live streamed as well.
Correct.
Amazing. What's the discount code? Do you have it yet, or?
Yes, it's CV 2025, and the link.
CV as in Victor.
Charlie
Victor.
Charlie Victor 2025, our year today.
Okay. Awesome. So that's within the Eventbrite for people. So
Eventbrite, yeah. So if you go and follow the link, and if you put CV 2025, you're approved, and then we let you know 24 hours in advance, because everything is super private.
Sure.
Where you need to go and what time you have to go. Business casual, please.
Okay. Perfect. But be prepared to go downtown. That's the idea.
Yes.
So I do want to talk about events. How did you? First of all, what metrics do you use when you look back at events that you've done? How do you judge? Okay, this was successful. This worked. This didn't. How do we get better for next time? How do you sort of pull it all together with everything else happening?
Yeah, there is so many events happening in your city, and people are busy. But I think once you create a very good name and you do the right thing over and over again, you become a superstar. First of all, we have a very, very strong deal flow coming from all corners. So we try to execute first values and align them with what capital variation stands for. So we interview every single one of the companies. We make sure that they are qualified, that verified, and everything is consistent. And then we work diligently also on the main investors that we want to have there. So every single investor, I try to spend well enough time with them to understand what they really look for. Because if people come to your events, it's because they want to come, because they're interested in the companies and supporting and growing the ecosystem. So that way we interview both parties, we will know that there is an interest, a genuine interest for them to come and see the startups. And the startups are healthy, young, they're really up and going, they're energetic. They're willing to receive capital, they're willing to grow, they're willing to take direction also, because a lot of the startups and founders, entrepreneurs need a lot of direction, and we try to help as much as we can with that. So I think when you put those ingredients together, and then put your stamp on it, I think the sky's the limit. And this is going to be the first time that we're going to live stream it. Essentially, it's going to be capital variation channel, where everyone will have a chance to talk about their passion, their goals, and we help them shine and bring capital.
Awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, please put links and all that stuff in the comments. And if people listening or watching have anyone that is thinking about going, please have them reach out to us. between now
Absolutely.
and next week. Although I don't know how much room you actually have for people, but I mean that's kind of the thing. There's only so much capacity, I
Yeah,
guess.
we would only allow 35 people. So we're doing these exclusively for
Uh,
you. So when the registration closes, obviously it will be sold out. So if you
sure.
do really want to be part of it, you have between today, tomorrow, maybe Friday, and then we will close registrations.
Right. Okay. So you heard it here. So you got to get in. Can you talk about first of all, you touched on something else just within that about the founders being coachable, but also being energetic about their business and the problem that they're trying to solve. Like you come across, frankly, and we haven't met yet in person, but hopefully next week, knock on wood. And it's a real good example of founder problem fit, right? Like you're solving a problem within the capital world because you understand it, you get it, and you have access. So you're leveraging that access for other people. Um, can you talk about the importance of that founder market or founder problem fit, but then also how that extends to a good fit between the founder and the investor that actually joins the cap table? Because that is, you mentioned baby and family, like that's super important, and it's got to be guarded like someone joining a family, right?
Right. Yeah. I think the first things first, right? I think if a founder gets to work with a company like ours, they need to respect and feel empowered by whoever is representing them. So I
Mm,
feel that my story is resilient enough to make sure that to show them that if I brought my company and I survived pandemics, Brexit, and wars and everything, they can they can trust and vet that I will do a good job for them. So I will work with them and I'll make sure that everything that I've learned, I can give that to them and transmit it. So and by showing them, also by leading, right, and doing so. Majority of the times I am the first one who'll be like, okay, I need to change this, let's get on a call together. I don't wait for them, or sometimes they're more active, right? So
mm,
but they have to be proud of who they're working with. And on the other hand, when we bring investors, I also want to make sure that investors are serious and they're really really there because they want to make money, of course, but also they want to impact these young entrepreneurs, and they want
mm,
to help them succeed because it's in their interest. But they're young, right? And sometimes uncoachable or sometimes coachable, but
mm,
they have so much potential, right? So they need the direction to be able to succeed within their company. So it's like a father, like a mother, right? Like they they
mm,
they, they need to work in conjunction to be able to, both of them will reach the next level. So I think what my team is really good at is identifying those personalities, because it's about personalities, about chemistry as well. It's sometimes about
yeah.
mother father, sometimes like chemistry about boyfriend girlfriend. It's like sometimes a combination of many different things.
Hmm.
So I think once we exactly merge, I can see that. I've done this so many times with so many entrepreneurs and family offices, and when I see them chatting for the first time, I'm like immediately know that it's going to be a yes, it's going to be a check the next day.
Okay.
It's funny, but I can I call it matchmaking for founders or something similar.
Sure.
You get better at it as you do it multiple times.
Well, yeah, and obviously the experience and the knowledge and doing it, and it's sort of like exercising or building muscle, and it just
Yes,
gets
I
better
think
over
we
time.
do, exactly. I think my team and I, we review more than like probably 500 or 600 decks per year. Sometimes we get 3 or 4 per day, and we
Mm,
have probably 4 or 5 conversations with different founders since inception. And then on the other hand, we're talking constantly with the investors and family offices to understand what they want to invest. But not always is what they want to invest, is how the market behaves, right? how liquidity is being pulled to different directions, what markets, where geopolitical issues are happening, so that money steers in different directions. And so
Yeah.
it's a game. It's understanding exactly how you can profit better and whilst doing good for the world, whilst
Mhm.
you know it's a combination um
Yeah.
of different
And
things.
before we went live, we were talking about just some trends within um, the markets, and um, I wanted to get your thoughts on, what's happening with, in terms of companies, startups. Let's focus on startups, and they're raising capital, getting customers, and building revenue and all that. Um, Going public is something that almost every company used to want to do almost as soon as possible. These
Correct.
days, that's not the case. So, what in your view has happened or is happening? Um, you know, are the markets, who is going public an actual good use case for these days? If you want to approach it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are various points there we can discuss on. I think the
Hmm.
easy one is just to kind of like tab on the companies that have been recently listed: Kraken, the crypto exchange,
Hmm.
Snowflake, all these AI companies. The market is not how it used to be before, right? So now you could launch a company, and then in like 6 months you be totally bootstrapped, and you could have already a market cap of like $1 billion, right? Because of the power of AI and automation and artificial intelligence. So yes, it's becoming more difficult, I will say, because of the fact that maintaining teams and creating value and having a product that works and keep consistent and then expands. It's a tough job in this business, because like a lot of young people now are like, okay, well, if I can create $1 billion company, with two people, why would I go for a corporate world where I have to go spend like,
Hmm.
hundreds of hours in an office where I'm locked, rather than just do it here myself with another two developers, and so when I mentioned earlier the market changes, is because us as human beings are changing and evolving. So hence
Hmm.
economy evolves and changes, right? Geopolitical issues are rising every day. We don't really understand what's happening one day, the next day wars, etc. So everything impacts, right, the way that the markets behave. And in terms of regulation and all the checks that a company needs to now be compliant, it's a lot, right? So you have to have a team that allocates enough resources so that they can pay all of these regulations and have a certain period of being trading and making a certain amount of money, so they can list
Hmm.
either in New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, which is an electronic stock exchange with less regulatory framework and less capital, right? So um, we the reason why we also made the jump and decided to expand into the US was because my vision when I established Capital Variation was to bring startups and help them through the transition of becoming a $1 billion company and help them list. So we needed to have all pools of capital available so that we can support them from inception to the listing.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now, right? So my office is literally opposite the stock exchange. I literally see from my window who's listing today, tomorrow, etc. So
Sure.
everything is connected now. So now I have the
Yeah.
capacity to say to my founders and the companies that I work with, this is how the market is behaving. I think we should take this route. And I've seen companies that are created within like 1 year time, and like half a year they're already listed in the stock exchange, right? So it's the times are
Yeah.
very much changing. And I always tell, if you're ahead of the curve, if you're integrating technology in your daily decisions, and you're ahead of the market and really educating yourself on how to implement innovation in your organization and try to keep your team happy, I think it's not impossible to bring your company public. It's very doable, essentially in these markets, but you need
Yeah.
to be ahead of the curve, and you need to be willing to be flexible and always look out for the competition. I think it's super
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And so just to be clear, you're not on Wall Street right now, right? I can see behind you. It looks like
Yeah, I think today it's a great day. I love
okay.
Wall Street and everything because it's super inspiring. But I since I had to do this whole event, I'm much better in the warm weather. So I'm currently in
Okay.
Tulum in Mexico.
Nice.
I
Nice.
have one of the ways that I cope with all this crazy work is I take my mornings, I meditate, I manifest, I have my coffee, I go for sports, go for a swim, come back, work, and then try to have a break. So this
Okay.
place really helps me. I'm in the middle of the jungle.
Amazing. I think I'm sure you when you talk to companies and investors as well, uh, I think that the mental health and de-stress and thinking of ways to keep, not just the founders, but every employee, and obviously compensation and equity and plans and all that are important. I think also that just some of these kinds of um, extras are very helpful towards aligning everyone and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, no. I mean, first of all, I think I was talking to a founder earlier today, an amazing entrepreneur. He's actually coming to our event. He's raising money for his healthcare wellness center. And we discussed that, look, if we as founders, creators, and even investors, we're not internally uh, healthy and satisfied with our mission and essentially fulfilled, no matter how much money in the world you have, you're always going to have those issues, right, of like
Mm,
existence and I should be doing this, etc. So I think one of the main things that I always try to stress in our events is learning to be able to find your real purpose, and taking breaks and really connecting with your inner self, and eating healthy and at least doing any form of sport to take away your mind from work, because I talk to like different companies every day and founders, etc., and I'm always in these numbers and like the term sheets and like projections and financials and everything, and sometimes like you get super blocked. So one way to distress, I love surfing. That's like my kind of thing. I love surfing, I
oh,
love
cool.
swimming, diving. I'm a horse rider, I play tennis, I golf and everything. But my
Okay.
my my go-to is the sea. I love the sea. I love going to the seaside, and
Okay.
and in our
Yeah, that's
next.
hard. That's hard to do in New York right now.
Yes, exactly. So we're planning to do our next event in Monaco. Then we have also plans for Davos in World Economic Forum in Switzerland, and we also have
Yeah.
plans for Dubai. So keep
Yeah. So I was
uh,
I was going to ask you what's next in the on the agenda and into 2026.
yeah. So we're gonna
I guess
go
that's
to the World Economic Forum, Davos. So our partners, yes, we trust, are in an excellent group that we are cooperating now. We're putting together an event, and we're going to bring some of those amazing founders and family offices to be part of that. Um,
mhm.
it's basically in the snow, so we're going to go and see polo on ice, snow polo, and then
Oh,
we're going
oh,
to
really?
yes, the submarines. So the first is the World Economic Forum in January, and then 3 days later, when the actual forum finishes, we'll then go to San Moritz, and then we watch polo on
That's
ice,
so cool.
snow polo.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you follow us and then you continue like watch everything that we're doing, and if you you
Yeah.
know
So yeah, that's good. So where can people follow you? Just to be,
yeah,
is it
so we're super
Instagram and
yes, we're super active in LinkedIn. Most of the things that we actually promote are LinkedIn as a first time basis. We do Instagram as well, Capital Variation.
mhm.
And then we have a newsletter as well, whereby we share all of the initiatives that we participate on so we can connect investors and founders alike.
Okay. No, that's awesome. So please share all that in the comments. Um,
Yes.
I do have a good question that I like asking pretty much everyone is if you could speak to one person, from today or history about this, or maybe to have on stage, who would it be? Who would you like to have this kind of conversation with?
I think I would like to have a conversation with Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, interesting.
Just because not because we only share, the same name, but there is a reason why my mother named me after the Iron Lady. Very
Okay.
strong, very, very strong woman who did a lot of things for the UK. Some might be positive, some might be negative, but I think she's kind of like a role model for modern, um, I would say, economic growth, back in
Hmm.
the time. I always think I will learn a lot from strong women, which is who I am as well. So I'm a strong woman, but I also have like my sweet side. And yeah, I would love to have a conversation with her.
That's great. And how can this community help and support the work that you're doing?
By supporting, by coming to our events, by helping one another, engaging and helping some of the founders. Sometimes, even though the companies might not be the right fit right now for investments, but if they can identify other investors that could potentially invest on them, share their decks, and continue with the community and eventually get funded, economic growth will prevail, right? So I always think like we can do much more things if we collaborate than just working solo. And it's not always easy to be able to do that. But if we start one thing at a time, one referral could change anybody, it could change the world, right? So cooperation and collaboration.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential when people just get together to just create that serendipity, and
Yes.
that's how we met, and that's how
Yes.
why we're
Thanks,
doing this, and
Sarah.
that's why these things are happening. So, and I think that's like a perfect place to leave it until next time. And I really appreciate your time, Margaret, and everyone that's watching. Thanks, guys. Thank you all. Look forward to it. Dress warm next week when you get back to New York, and looking forward to meeting soon.
Yes, and I'm looking forward. Thank you so much, Ariel. And I hope to see some of these great founders and family offices join our event on the 11th of December from 2 p.m. onwards in Wall Street.
Perfect. Perfect. Terrific. Have a great day.
Thank
All
you.
right. Enjoy the sun. Bye.
Thank you.